what the question, I guess, is why can't I accept love?
I'm Louis Cole. Welcome to the Recharged podcast. In this series, I invite fellow content creators and artists to explore exciting ways to make a difference in the world. I take my guests to visit local social good projects in my self-converted electric 1973 Volkswagen van. We have real and raw conversations about life and hear from social good heroes that we can all be inspired by. On today's podcast, our guest is Elle Mills, comedic genius, YouTuber, aspiring director, podcasting host, and LGBTQ+ advocate. Elle started her YouTube channel 9 years ago, making videos about her life, and has now built a social following of almost 5 million. She's known for her unique, fun, quirky, and honest videos, and often discusses challenging topics online from burnout, mental health, and body image. More recently, she's launched her own podcast, Crazy Stupid Fangirls. Thanks for being a guest on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I thought it'd be cool just to start off with, maybe you could introduce yourself and give me like a 5-minute life story of how you got to LA and what you're doing in life now.
Okay, hell yeah. So my name's Elle Mills is the full name. 22, turning 23. Life story was born in the Philippines. My mom is Filipino, my dad is Canadian. Moved around a lot as a kid. We moved to Ottawa, Canada, where like my hometown is. That's where my brother was born. I have 2 half-sisters. It's kind of home base, but moved to Taiwan and then moved back to Canada, then moved to Hong Kong for a couple years, and then back to Canada for middle school and high school. And I think in Hong Kong is when I started making home videos. You know, how I feel like all YouTubers start out. I made a lot of music videos with my siblings and my cousins, roped in my friends into those. I was a huge YouTube fan growing up, middle school and high school. Watched you. I watched you before you had your slogan. Like,
really?
Yes.
Whoa,
I remember
that's like
the vlog.
school.
Yeah, no, I remember the vlog where you came up with it. So yeah, like a huge YouTube fan growing up. And so all middle school and high school, would just make videos for my school, in my spare time with my friends and family. And so when I graduated high school in like 2016, I was going into university for business, which is just, I've never had an interest. It's just like what my dad did. So kind of had this like bit of a breakdown summer after high school, because I had a really great high school experience. I was valedictorian, president, I was really involved, and so I felt like I peaked in high school. And so I was like, you know what, all these YouTubers that I watch and love all started with 0 subscribers. So I was like, okay, if I post every week, because I noticed every time I posted I gained 10 subscribers, so I was like, if I post every week and stay consistent, by the end of the year I should have 1,000. And I really like pushed myself creatively, and luckily like videos like kind of did really well, and by the end of the year I had 10,000. And so I decided to drop out of university at 10,000.
Wow.
And just because I was just like, I feel like if I spent more time focusing on making the videos, I could make it a full-time thing. And that's what I explained to my parents. You know, my dad was more hesitant. My mom was like, okay, if this is what you think. It was kind of, the deal was 1 semester off. And in that semester, by the end of that semester off, I had 100K, and I was signed to management, so I was able to, and I was making a bit of money, so I was able to make it a full-time thing. Got invited to my first YouTube event, and then like from there, it just kind of all spiraled. Like I think my biggest video was my coming out video, and kind of from there, just kind of all blew up. This is me like really shortening that part, but moving to LA, you know, because of the success, I was able to get my visa, and my pal Luke Horns, who you know, he like, I had my visa, but I was still living at home in Canada, and he was like, I'm looking for a roommate, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it, you know. And I finally moved out of my parents' house and moved to LA and like last year, I think. So yeah, now here in LA, living the dream.
Nice.
That's the life story.
And obviously, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been a bit of a roller coaster,
Yes.
which we can go into in a minute. But I thought I would start off by asking what most excites you in your life right now. Like, what really like gets you jumping out of bed excited and you fall asleep thinking about it? Like, what?
Yeah, right now for me, I hope it doesn't sound cheesy, but I'm so on the right path to who I want to be, if that makes sense. I feel like I've had a lot of self-growth in the past year, and I'm now doing things in so much more mature in ways that I never thought I would be able to achieve, and I just know I'm on the right track I feel like I'm very happy with where I am right now mental health wise, and so every day I'm just like pushing and figuring out ways to improve my mental health. Like, how can I improve myself? What else can I do? You know, like small things. Like, I've been so scared to get my license, but finally this week I'm gonna go to the DMV, go get my test done, finally be like, don't have to ask for rides from people, you know what I mean? Just like basically pushing through all my fears. And so every day that's kind of been what's been exciting me. It's just like figuring out, okay, what else can I do? What else is next to achieve? Yeah.
That's such a big moment of independence, like getting a driving
Oh,
license.
I know. I'm so excited. I am so excited. When I get my first car, like, I just feel like I'm gonna be a different person. I can do anything, you know?
Oh, the freedom. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
For you. So you talked about like kind of being in a good space with your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a bit about, and as much as you'll feel comfortable sharing, but like a bit about your journey with mental health and the impact of kind of having an online presence, making videos, and then, I don't know, maybe like the pressures of being a woman, the pressures of like, I don't know, the pressures that come with that, especially around like industry and beauty and standards that are set, and like the fact that you're like putting yourself out in front of millions. Like, I'd love to hear like your journey and maybe like, I don't know, maybe some of the low points, but then how you've found your way out of that and overcome stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, so I've always been kind of an anxious person. I stress myself out a lot. You know, even in high school, I was always doing above and beyond. Like, I was part of all the clubs. I just wanted to be the best of the best. And so I found when I got into YouTube, and especially because it was it really was like my childhood dream. Like, and finally getting into that world was so much, it felt very surreal. I felt like, I think there was just a lot of pressure, and I felt like I had to prove myself, and I just think everything would happen so fast because, you know, when the numbers start going, they really start going. And I felt the need to constantly top myself because my videos are very, they used to be very big, grand concepts. I was spending a lot of money. I was very focused on, like, I didn't care about the money. I was just spending, and, you know, so that was an added pressure too. Yeah. And so, I think, you know, whenever I was like at the peak of my success, I think there was like, it's just a lot going on. Like, I was going on tour, like I was like flying every week. Like, I was meeting after meeting, and on top with the YouTube videos, and I was 18, 19 at the time. And so I just think it was a lot. And so I had my first panic attack on tour. And I just didn't understand what was going on. And then I think like a month later, I was at a YouTube convention, and it was just all building up, and I had a very public mental breakdown. You know, I was drinking heavily, and, you know, it was just like everywhere. And I think at that point, that's when my my family and my manager were kind of like, we gotta put a pause on this because this is not, sustainable in the long run, and kind of just went completely offline. It took a second, and to say that I had I feel like it's been a couple years of figuring it out. It's slowly gotten better and better since then, and that was in 2018. So it's been 3 years actually to the day since that very public thing, and it was at the time I reached out to a lot of creators, creative pals, and I think it's a common that pressure I was feeling, that burnout, was something that a lot of people in this world feel, and so hearing other people out, not and just communicating what I was feeling, because I felt I think at the time I really bottled up everything and I didn't express what I was feeling, and so that's kind of been a really big learning lesson for me, is just communicate how I'm feeling, and so over the past few years, I think a big thing is I've kind of reprioritized how I looked at YouTube in my job, because I think that was at the top, and then everything else fell behind. But now I put my mental health first, family, friends, and then work. And I think that's been really helpful. It was hard to make that transition because it's just it's an addicting thing, the likes, the views, getting a viral video, and I think I'm at a place right now where I've kind of really took a step back. Small things there's a time limit on my apps. I have a lot of I do have a lot of people muted, but just so to minimize the amount of lives I'm seeing, because you tend to compare your lives to other people's, and so just small things that have been really helping with my mental health, and so I'm still learning. I definitely still have my bad days, but from where I was a few years ago, I'm very proud of my progress.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. I think a lot of people take years to work through stuff, so and I think part of it is just honouring that process and being you might be in the middle of it still, or like you said, there might be ups and downs. It's so interesting. I feel like social media and being a social media star or whatever, an influencer, there's so many incredible things about it. Like you said, it was your dream. But I also think there's this danger of, and like you said, almost measuring your success in life to numbers and success of YouTube videos. But if you're end up feeling miserable and not enjoying what you're doing, then for me, and this is I guess a realization I had as well, for me that isn't really success in life. Yep. Surely the measure of success in life is a deep down joy of being alive, but having people you love around you, and then I guess doing something you love doing as well, and being able to make a career from it. But I think there's definitely an allure into the kind of influencer creator world that can end up leaving people feeling empty and miserable.
No, for sure.
And especially in LA, I feel and especially over the last year or so, it must have been pretty lonely, because you spent a lot of last year here, right? Or did you get back to Canada?
Half, I'd say.
Okay.
Half in Canada and then half here.
Because I think a lot of creators I was talking to were just super lonely most of last year, because we were all locked away.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a bit as well, if you're comfortable sharing, around your journey with body image.
Yeah.
Because again, I think in the same way that the pressures of being an online personality can bring like anxiety and the stress of, I don't know, having to perform or, you know, do well. I think also there's an added layer of like kind of what you perceive beauty standards to be, and I don't know, I'd love to hear about your
Yeah,
journey with that.
no, for sure. So I mean, I've always kind of struggled with my weight, and I think I was never actually bullied in school. I don't think I really was. I had a really good school experience, but you know, jumping in online, that I was really hit with reality, and it was I think especially because I don't know, definitely like my physical appearance was something that I got a lot of mean comments and mean tweets about, especially around 2017. And so I had never really compared myself to like other women, but definitely, you know, hearing that, it's just like, it doesn't make you feel good, it makes you, I don't know. So it made me really think about my physical appearance, and I think I started trying to lose weight, and I noticed, you know, when you lose weight, people are really sweet about it online, but you know, it's like you losing weight is associated with, oh, you look so good, oh my god, you know, and it's like this reward in your head of like, oh, the more weight I lose, the more people will find me attractive, the more people will like my, like, comment and tweet about it, you know what I mean? It was like this kind of attention thing that was really toxic. And the thing is, it's like, if someone's doing it healthily, you know, going to the gym, working out, eating healthy, you know, it's like, it's such a tough, I don't know, this is why I'm like a little, like, I'm not sure where I stand on it, because it's tough. Basically, I was not doing it healthily. I think I got really obsessed with, I wanted to look very thin, very fast. And I would always like, before like a YouTube event where I was gonna be doing meet and greets and meeting people and stuff, I would time it out. So I was like, oh, in 2 months I need to drop 30 pounds, you know, because then by the time I go to VidCon, you know, I look great and people are gonna think I look great and like whatever. And it was such a toxic way of thinking that I was kind of stuck in for a while. But because no one really knew how I was going about it, I was getting reward for, you know, those toxic behaviors, which is no one's fault, but it's just like, you know, it's just such a tough thing because you don't really know what's going on in someone's life. And so people are seeing me, you know, slim down, and they're like, oh my god, you look so great, and I'm like, okay, so this mindset I have is correct, I should be losing weight, kind of thing. And so that was 2018, 2019, I'd say, the worst of it. And then I kind of realized how unhealthy and how unsustainable that lifestyle is.
Was there like a turning point for you, or like was it just a gradual thing that you slowly realized?
I think a lot of family members were concerned because I mean, I will say what I did, but like I truly do not encourage this at all. I think it's the worst thing. I still have, I think, physical effects from what I did to my body, but I went like 2 weeks no eating, just water, and then I would obviously break and binge, and then I would repeat the cycle. And so it was my body weight, I think my metabolism is I think I did permanent damage to it. And you know, it's just like, I don't know, basically at a point I think my family and friends would be like, you look sick, you know, you can't do this, and I realized I couldn't do it, and I talked about it openly.
Yeah, I think I watched that video that you shared.
And so, and at the time I posted that, I actually was still very much in it, like just kind of like realizing I can't do this anymore. And I honestly do think me posting it kind of made me accountable to getting better. in a weird way. That it's like, I put this out there, I'm trying to be an example, so I should lead by example and, you know, cut those toxic habits. And so it's been definitely tough. I feel I go on hikes, I'm working out, I'm eating healthy. I think a big thing was diet culture. So I don't see it as a diet. I'm not dieting, I'm just, you know, eating healthy, always having the healthier option, you know, and that's been really good. Not checking my weight, just, you know, just doing it, you know, and like not looking at the numbers. So yeah, I mean, it's been tough. I think it's like something that a lot of people, I mean, it's like just comes with being online, you know. You are the product almost. Like, I don't know. It's like, yeah.
Do you think, thanks for being so vulnerable, like I know it's like a really personal struggle for you, but I think unfortunately it's not a unique struggle, and I think almost and I think it does affect women more than men.
Yeah.
Because I think there's such a more intense pressure on women to look a certain way, and also to connect your worth or value to your looks. And I think obviously this is part of centuries and centuries of patriarchal standards that have been set, and for me, I want to find ways to dismantle that and to help there be a lot less pressure on people to look a certain way or to feel like they need to fit into any boxes for society to accept them, and whether that's looks or race or sexuality. And I think I don't know, I think we're slowly moving the needle.
I think so, because I think there's just like, I think a big thing is representation in the media.
Yes.
And I think that's, you know, just in casting with shows, like you see different body types now, you see different races, and I think that's definitely helps, because now teenagers, kids can watch TV and say, oh, I see someone like me, and not feel like, oh, I have to look like, I don't know, super fit, you know, like these really beautiful actors or models, you know.
Yeah, and I think it starts even as a kid, like with dolls you play with, Barbies, or Disney films, like back the older Disney films. I think they got a lot better, but I feel like even as a guy, what I'm being shown on the media as attractive is programming me. So it's like I've had to deprogram, and like I'm trying to follow more, you know, plus size models on Instagram. Not that I really follow models on Instagram, but do you know what I mean? Like I follow accounts where the female body is celebrated in every shape and size, rather than limiting my kind of consumption of female beauty to this very small, unrealistic standard that also is always changing. Like, it feels like every few years there's some other slight body shape that's more, you know, that's like deemed more attractive or whatever. And I just think hopefully, and I think it's amazing that you've already been doing this, like with your platform, is just being able to openly share your struggles and start the conversation. And I know there's, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young girls that have really been impacted by your story. And thanks for making a difference. You know, I think there's a long way to go yet, but I think like being vulnerable and being able to share is so powerful.
No, I agree.
And you mentioned right at the beginning, like when you were sharing, like another thing that you were really vulnerable about on your channel, like you said your first video that really kind of blew up was you coming out. What was that experience like for you, online, but also kind of with your family and friends and stuff? Like I know, like one of the, like there was like the reactions you were like showing your friends, telling your friends and stuff.
For sure. I mean, I look back at that very fondly. I think I feel so much more myself since posting that video. I definitely think I may have jumped the gun when I posted that video. I in the past have been very vulnerable online, and I think maybe perhaps overshared a little bit. But with that video, you know, I don't regret posting it. I don't regret anything about it. I just definitely think that added to that breakdown I was talking about, because I'm very impulsive, but I came to terms with my sexuality, I think a month before I posted that video.
Wow.
And I was 18, 19 at the time. I think I was just very excited. I'm like, oh, I want to share this to the world. And, you know, it blew up. And immediately after, I was, you know, on the cover of LGBTQ magazines. Like, I was being asked questions about it, and I hadn't really gotten to explore it yet. And so I think I put something out publicly that I wasn't necessarily ready to talk about publicly. And especially because my coming out video was the way I came out to most of my friends and family. Anyone that's in the video knew, like, before I posted, but like my dad, my sisters, they didn't know until the video was posted publicly. Just because I'm just like...
Oh, so you didn't tell them?
No, I just posted the video. And it's because I think at the time I was using my videos as like a very therapeutic thing, and I really, as much as I am vulnerable online, it's such a contradiction. I'm super bad at it in person. Like, I'm not very good at, like, especially with the people I love, like my family. I'm not very good at that. And so I kind of just made a video, just like almost, in my head it was like killing a bunch of birds with one stone, like just get it out, done, which I think was the wrong way to go about it.
Was that tough for some of your family to find out through a video?
Yeah, my sister in particular was very upset. Because she, like, a coworker asked her about it at work, and she was like, wait, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And so, you know, in hindsight, like, that's one of my regrets. I do regret. And I had a couple of friends call. They weren't too upset. They were just like, why didn't you tell us? My sister was probably the most affected. And so it's like that video, like, I'm so proud of it. I feel like now, like, it's such a blessing. But definitely there were things that came out of that you know, in hindsight weren't the best. But
yeah, and I think, like, it's obviously a learning process. I think creating content online, there isn't really any set rules.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of the Wild West. Especially a few years ago, even more so. I feel like maybe there's a bit more structure starting to come in place, or, you know, people.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think we've all kind of made impulsive videos or whatever.
Yeah.
Something that I'm aware that quite a few creators have gone through, and also maybe you're even scared of happening, is like this whole cancel culture, people digging through your past and finding some mistake you made. And I think obviously there's some people that do need to really be held accountable and maybe even deplatformed if they are totally abusing their position. But I think on the flip side, there's this hypersensitivity to anything that's could be problematic. Have you encountered any of your past kind of catching up with you, or do you have that fear in any way?
I do have that fear.
Not maybe you've done nothing wrong necessarily, but there's always going to be like random tweet or something that...
Oh, I know. I mean, I very much am. I think in 2017, I experienced not what's happening right now, but a bit of a cancel culture hate situation that was pretty bad on Twitter. And it was like a trend to hate me because of at the time I was making very self-deprecating jokes, mostly about my weight at the time. and I think that really rubbed people off the wrong way. And so, you know, it's like there are benefits to calling people out, because I now don't do that. Like, I see where I went wrong with that.
So people were saying it was like fat shaming, and it was hard for them if they were overweight or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was kind of roped in, you know, with Christine Sedelko. I feel like if you saw her, you know. But like we were like really getting hated on at the time, and so that was kind of my first taste of it. And I've learned to, like, that's why I don't, from then on, don't read comments, I don't read tweets, I'm oblivious to it all. So if there are things that are being
so you just don't engage, like you don't read comments and tweets?
I don't read anything.
I think that's so good in terms of protecting your mental health, because I'm friends with creators that got so obsessed they like reply to every comment, and they've had complete mental breakdowns because of it, because you're basically opening yourself up to like thousands of people, random strangers that don't really know you, like commenting on every single part of your life, and it's just like overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's hard to remember that these people don't know you. They don't know your story. They don't know, you know, they see what you post, and it's like they're gonna say whatever they're gonna say, and sometimes I don't know. So that's why I'm like I have a lot of creator friends who still do that and read it, and I'm always like, and they get upset. I'm like, why read it though? Like it's just like it's just like ignorance is bliss in that specific situation. But in terms of cancel culture, you know, I really don't think there's anything. I really hope that's fingers crossed, but no, I don't know. It's such,
Well, how do you feel about seeing other creators being like cancelled?
Okay, yeah, I mean,
even if like again, I'm hoping neither of us have anything that could be dug up in our past, but I do feel like it's a theme, and it's almost like people enjoy seeing people torn down, which is so sad that we live in that world.
Oh, I know. And I'm honestly, it's so tough, because it's like the people that are being canceled right now, like, have done terrible things, and I definitely think they need to be held accountable. But at the same time, I do think we have crossed a line, and it's so no one wants to be online. Everyone's scared, you know what I mean?
Or scared to voice an opinion. Because you like.
And it's like, do we all want to live in fear? No, like it's just. That's why I'm kind of like removed myself from the internet. Like I do my thing. I post the content. I don't look, like I just, you know, because that's what I like to do. And now it's just become this. I don't know. It's become this thing of like, who's the next person we're gonna cancel? It's just like next person after person. I get it. It is a little entertaining. Like, you know what I mean? I get it.
Drama.
Yeah, but it's just. Especially, I think for me, especially, I don't want to like go in specifics, because I don't really, just like generally, it's like, okay, we're gonna cancel someone, but are we gonna allow them the chance to grow and learn from this experience? And I find that that's where that's where the line is blurred right now, where I find that, this person's canceled, they'll never make a comeback. They can never come back from this. They are forever done. Where it's like people grow, and, you know, again, it's tough because it's all situational, but I think I think that's one of my biggest issues, is that I feel like people aren't allowing people to learn and grow from these things.
Yeah, and I hope we can transition as a culture to start being more, it's not necessarily just about forgiving, but it's like, like you said, having grace to allow people to change, and to be like, okay, look, you messed up, and allowing people to kind of educate themselves and go do whatever they need to do to kind of remedy their attitude towards things, or I don't know. I think that's part of modeling as like an influential person online, like the reality of life, and I think anyone, whether they're an online personality or not are going to be, are going to make mistakes in life and have to learn from them and have to figure out how to become a better person and grow. And I hope there is more grace for people online.
I hope so too.
Yeah, and I mean it is a tough one, like you said. It's kind of all situational, and there is something about kind of creating online, having a huge audience and making a ton of money, having power that can create a really toxic lifestyle that kind of can create a lot of these situations that end up people end up getting cancelled for. So I think like creators that have been in the industry for a while, hopefully, now that it's kind of such an established thing now, being like an online creator, hopefully there can be like, I mean, this is what I want to do as well, is just like be that figure of support to people that are like new in the scene. And I'm doing like a podcast with Eric next week. Do you know Eric?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, he blew up. He did that. He blew up to 1 million subs in a year, and he was like, he did this thing where he bought Logan Paul's couch for $90,000.
Okay.
And then ended up making a whole series. Well, it's a $90,000 couch he bought for like $15,000. But anyway, he made this whole series around that, and then he just does. It's kind of very outrageous videos, but he's so new to YouTube that it makes me. I'm just interested. I'm like, I wonder what we've learned. Me being on YouTube for like 10 years now, and you, however long, like 4 or 5 years or whatever. I wonder what knowledge we can pass on to like new creators that come.
There's a lot, because I remember when I first came in, that's like the creators who had been in it for years before me were the ones who helped me. I felt like if I didn't have those creators in my life, like I just don't know. I feel like I would not have known how to navigate, And I definitely feel that now. Like I think there are newer creators that I've become friends with that I feel kind of that protectiveness over, where I'm like, I want to make sure you're on the right path and don't make the same mistakes that I made. But no, yeah, I get that. I'm gonna check out his videos.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting now. Oh wow, look at that! I've got like a sister van over the road. I feel like there's so many creators now that it's really like there's probably like hundreds of people with like 10 million subs that I haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
And I just feel like when I started, that just wasn't the case at all. Like there wasn't that many people making content online. And in one way it's great because it creates such a this is the beauty of it, that like you said yourself, every creator started with 0 subs, like it's this awesome place where anyone in the world could amplify their voice and start a following and get their content seen all over the world. I think like it's really the first time in history that we've had access to like potentially billions of people with a message, rather than it being like centrally controlled through like TV or whatever it is. So in some ways it's exciting. It's very daunting in a way as well, because you're like, oh wow, like what do I want my message to the world to be? But it's exciting because I feel like we can truly make a difference and already have, like, in people's lives. What do you think your message is? What do you think if you could summarize what you want to communicate?
Toughy.
Yeah.
God, I'm so I'm just very like careful with it, because I'm just like, I only know what I've experienced, and so I think my message is very much, I think mental health is like a really big one, I think that's the one. Just like putting your mental health first. Not, I don't know, just, I find the internet is, I don't know, I just like living your life, you know what I mean? Remembering who's around you, the people you love, you know, and just, life's good, you know, life's short, so live it to the fullest, and don't let these little things like likes, views, hate comments, you know, whatever it may be, affect that, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, you know. And so, I guess mental health first would be my main message.
That's good, and I think it's so good that that's becoming really in the forefront of conversation. I've really noticed even in the last 5 years, it's really shifted.
Yeah.
And I think because people are having the conversations now and feel that they can be open, because you sharing your vulnerable struggles online, it gives people permission to share theirs and to fight, and to like talk to their friends about their struggles. And I think that's the first step, is like realizing that we all struggle in some way.
Yeah.
And although a lot of online content puts across like this perfect life, especially I find on Instagram, or I don't know, it depends who you follow, I guess, but I feel like there's something really beautiful about being that kind of raw and vulnerable, and like giving people permission to ask themselves those questions, and journey through it themselves. So we're running a little late. We're 7 minutes away from where we're going. I haven't told you anything about what we're doing today. So we're visiting this organisation called Girl Powerful, and I'll let them just explain more of what they do, but they basically support teenage girls with the current issues that like a lot of girls are struggling with, and it's all about like female empowerment.
Oh, hell yeah.
Giving them the tools and stuff they need, and we're going to be meeting some of the girls in the program and like doing some kind of fun projects with them today.
Hell yeah.
So I thought it'd be cool just to see people on the ground doing the work, like some of which we've talked about on this drive, just like how do we start combating issues in the world. And I think that's like a lot of what I want this podcast to be, is like obviously catching up, seeing friends, but then diving in a bit deeper about like how can we like use our platforms in the best way to impact the world, like even more than we already are.
Oh no, for sure. And honestly, I'm so glad you've made the Social Good Club. For Luke and I think definitely the Social Good Club has been really educating and helpful, and has like kind of, I mean, personally made me realize like that I do want to have content with a deeper meaning and purpose too. And so, no, I'm very excited. I'm super excited about today. Like, I'm excited to hear everyone's stories, and like, I think this is a really cool. I love this whole concept for this podcast too. Like, this is sick.
Yeah, I think this will work.
Yes, hell yeah.
Today we're visiting Tedi Serge. Tedi and her sister Sonia launched Girl Powerful, a youth empowerment program designed to give tween and teen girls the social and emotional learning tools to build a strong sense of self. Girl Powerful's mission is for all girls to feel seen, valued and heard when they need it the most. According to DoSomething.org, 7 in 10 girls believe they are not good enough or don't measure up in some way, including their looks, performance in school and relationships with friends and family members. Further, by the time a girl reaches the age of 8, her confidence will decline
declined by 30%. Another study analyses more than 11,000 9 and 10-year-olds in the United States and found that 10% reported engaging in self-harm. Tedi believes today's children need mental health tools in order to succeed in the future, and that's exactly what Girl Powerful is providing. But we can't just rely on private organisations like Girl Powerful, and it's key to invest in affordable healthcare access so these young people are getting the support they really need across the whole country.
Hi.
Hello.
This is my Kate. Hi.
I'm Louie.
Valentina.
Hi. Hello.
Ava, and this is Lily.
Hello.
In 2014 I started Girl Powerful with my sister, and I was actually working at a school, and a couple of them, that's where I met them. And we were just noticing, like, in recess or lunch or after school, girls were kind of coming inside, always being like, she's being mean to me, and like, this is happening. And so we wanted to combat that. And so you can do that by social and emotional learning and communicating and sharing your feelings and, like, you know, going up to that person and being like, hey, I don't like how you talk to me like that. And actually, like, being more empowered with your word. So that's what Girl Powerful is about. And then we wrote this 10-week journal. And so it's everything from self-worth, you know, happiness, gratitude, health, confidence, power posing. I was just telling you. So that's what we're going to do today. We wanted to kind of share what we've been up to for years. My Kate, what do you think about Girl Powerful? I mean, I think that hear from them. They've known us forever. And
I really like it personally because it made me like more confident in myself and like standing up to others. I've been in this class for a long time. I do online classes too. We do the journal a lot, which helps me a lot. I've been recently like dealing with friend issues, and I stood up to her, and she's been changing like her attitude towards me. It's just changed like a lot with Teddy and Sonia helping me, like being there for me like throughout all these years, because I've known them like since I was in first grade. So it's just been helping me a lot.
Like in classes, Val would always be like, you'd always share, which I always appreciated. Like after a meditation, Val would say like the sweetest, kindest words about like how she feels, like, you know, peaceful and quiet and present. And that's just kind of cool to be able to bring all kinds of teachers to them via Zoom, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we're operating now, since it's like COVID-19 lifestyle.
It's incredible that you mentioned meditation, because I don't even think I learned what meditation was until after I left high school. Like I feel like the fact that younger boys and girls get to experience that, it's such an amazing life tool that I feel like I wish I'd learned younger.
Yeah, that's a lot of people say that about like all the things we do, is I wish I had that when I was younger. And that's also why Sonia and I started it. We wish we had it when we were younger, so we designed it. So we actually made the Girl Powerful Affirmation card deck, and every card has an I am statement and an action. So I think this is one of my favorite things that we've made. Like, we have our book, but you want to look at them?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe like pull a card and we could all do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm down.
I honor my feelings and intuition. Always go with your gut instinct. That is your truth.
Yeah.
Hell yes. These are great.
Do you think it would have impacted you a lot having like these kind of resources when
Oh,
you were growing up?
absolutely. I was just saying, because I just started journaling right now. I just got one, and like self-reflection journal. I think it's so, like, even now it's important, but like to have that from like when you're growing up and like starting to come into yourself, you know, that's super important. And like the power stance thing, that's incredible. Like, there's just like so many great things to help, I don't know, mental health. And it's just like, especially because middle school and high school, like going into that world, like it could be tough for sure.
Well, that's like what Girl Powerful means, is that like the power comes from inside you.
Yeah.
And that's based on meditation, all yoga techniques, like it's the truth. So of course we like to like be in circle with girls, and sometimes it's easier when a guy is not around to share and be authentic. And
Yeah, sorry about that.
no, I know. But when someone's an ally and kind like you, like those are the best men to have around young girls, you know, a trusting adult. Like, these girls have wonderful families, but some other girls we work with are like foster youth or in Department of Family Services and just in underserved communities, and they they really need trusting adults and mentors to show up.
Do you think there's more challenges nowadays than there was like even like 10 years ago or something before social media really blew up?
Yeah, I definitely think that makes an impact, because I feel like in social media it normalizes so much like cancel culture and people hating on each other, and I think it definitely like makes an influence on us, so we start to be a bit more negative and kind of insult each other, and I think that it just like
I mean,
off.
these kids are a whole nother generation, and
We're
it's
literally talking about this.
very clear though.
I just think it's incredible that you guys are so aware of it. It's just like you guys, like there are people my age who like, you know, it's like hard for them to like grasp that and understand that. I struggle with social media. I actually like I don't go on it. I know how it affects my mental health. It affected it so badly that I had to completely remove myself from it, and I had to have someone else go post for me.
And there's a whole thing from like the CDC about 50% of our youth are depressed now.
Yeah.
And 20% are suicidal.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to come together and share stories and have real conversations like this.
Yeah, we were just saying just before we arrived, like we really want to like create a culture and community of influencers that like are really influencing in a good way and like using their platforms to change stuff. Because obviously there's this beautiful side to social media, and I think like activism and providing, you know, us being able to communicate to anyone in the world and like be so connected with one another in some ways, but then like you said as well, there's this whole toxic side to it, and it's like it's this double-edged sword. It's kind of a tricky one.
Yeah, well today we wanted to share one of our prompts we do in class.
Yeah.
And it's always good because it kind of makes you think, and we don't always think about ourselves. We're always worried about what other people are thinking. So the question is, or the thought is, describe yourself in 3 words that are like non-appearance based compliments. Like,
Okay.
does that make sense? Like, give yourself 3 compliments. Let's do compliments. Because, like, no one does that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I could compliment all of you, and sometimes I'm like, wait, what do I like about me?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know how to do that and go there in your brain. And I think it's like a muscle. You got to flex that self-love muscle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone think, what's one good thing about yourself? Yeah, for time's sake.
Yeah, sure.
One thing I really like about myself is that I think I'm a really good performer. I can speak well and perform well.
That's amazing. Oh, wait, I forgot. Another part I like to do is after someone says something like that, everyone says yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you affirm that for them because it's so important. Like, you're being vulnerable sharing, so like everyone sees you. Ava, what's something you love about yourself?
For me, I think I'm really caring.
You are.
Yes.
Yes. Go, Ava.
I think I'm very confident in myself, and I like to put a lot of good energy into me.
Yes.
I think I am passionate.
Yes. I think I am very determined, and that I anything I put my mind to, I can achieve.
Ooh. Yes. It feels good.
Yeah, it does.
To share and then be seen by everybody. So I love that I'm a leader, and I love that I have empathy for all kinds of people.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so actually to remember that, we're making affirmation bracelets. So you could pick a word, like, what'd you just say? Passionate. That's a long word.
Passion. I could do passion.
Yeah, and then you could make it with the puka shells, and anytime you're feeling maybe insecure or lost, just remember what you truly feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And you wear it on your wrist.
Yeah. Whilst we're doing it, I'd love to hear a bit more like what sparked this whole like life kind of path for you.
Yeah.
Like, was it things you saw? Was it specific moments, or do you think it was just a gradual thing that happened?
The truth is, like, growing up, I was raised by a single mom, so like, and then I have a sister, and we were always just around women, so naturally, like, that's who I was drawn to and I felt safe around. And even like my aunt would show up, or my grandma, and if anyone was ever helping, it was always a female. And then I was like Girl Scout and all those things. Like I played girl sports. Like, so naturally, like that's how I felt comfortable and most myself. So then when I did move to LA 12 years ago, I was working in a school and the classroom just like wasn't my thing. I'm a teacher by trade, and I just kind of also have like an entrepreneur side of me and a creative side that I'd build something like this, and also a service person. I was a teacher. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a lifeguard. Like all the service things, you know. I wanted to take care of my community. So that's kind of where this all came from. It's just like a need. We saw a need. Always, girls need people.
And it's cool that you had experienced something that you realized other people were lacking, and you were like, oh, I know how to remedy this. Like,
Right.
I know what people need. We were just talking on the way here that like, even 5 years ago, I don't remember mental health being talked about so much in conversation. I think it's so important that it is, and that people feel that they're able to say, hey, look, I'm struggling, and like, there's no shame around it. So I think that's at least part of the solution, is like recognizing that people are struggling, you know.
We definitely feel more supported just by like the climate and the press and everything like that. I think everything changed like in the 2016 election, and then like Me Too kind of came to the forefront and all that kind of stuff too, and like women empowerment. We had those huge marches like all across the country that were just beautiful and nonviolent, and it was just peaceful, and I think that changed women in general and like building sisterhood.
How do you think men and boys can show up and be like better allies to women and girls?
What do you guys think
Oh,
about
you could go.
boys?
Thanks.
But I have an answer, but I'm curious to hear, because that question comes up a lot.
Yeah.
I think boys need to stop putting such a border between both genders, because they always make it just like so they like dating and stuff like that. I just think that they should make it, we're all humans. It doesn't always have to be romantic, and you know, there doesn't have to be two sides. We can just all form together.
So I guess if guys could also like do self-work, that's what I'd say, and they show up and they love themselves, so then they're not going to take it out on us.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a slow shift happening. But yeah, I wonder how we can,
Bridge it.
kind of.
I kind of think like there's like the men like you that are very aware, and then there's the ones sticking to the old ways, and they like are digging their heels in. So there's not a lot of people living in the middle right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the question. How do you bridge the gap?
I definitely think like the toxic masculinity part is definitely a big thing, because my brother, like I have a brother, so, and I feel like I've tried to help him. I think he's surrounded his friends, especially like give him especially with guys, they kind of like want to like not stand out. I feel like they kind of like don't want to challenge what their guy friends are thinking, you know, and so.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
like you loser.
Yeah.
What are you, a pussy? Like all those
exactly.
kind of like words that are
Exactly.
seriously degrading to women in general. So like let's not describe a weak man or quote unquote weak man by using a term that you would call a girl.
Exactly.
That's messed up.
And I think something men can do is like within themselves is to stop that, because I think that then translates to how men treat women. You know what I mean? And so I see it with my brother. He grew up with all sisters. You know, I know he's a very sweet boy, but he has this like tough exterior, and like, you know, doesn't want to be perceived as word, you know what I mean? So I think that, so if that's something that I think men can do internally, is just to like stop that toxic masculinity, especially within like middle school.
I'd love to know like how important you feel kind of community is when it comes to the work you're doing.
Oh, community is everything. Yeah, I mean, on so many levels. Like, obviously, like on a bad day, but like building a brand and like families donating and corporations donating and like servicing other kinds of people, like beyond your own backyard. I think it's so important, and that's like community is like here in the present moment, like we're all at this table, but like we were strangers 20 minutes ago, you know? And like, I think when you build your home inside yourself and you know where that power lies, like community can be anywhere. I think a lot of Americans think like, that's not my home, that's not my community, I don't want to help them. And it's like, well, do you have a pulse? And you know, like we're all here. Yeah, we're all human and we're all here. And if you don't have community, I feel like you could be super lost.
I think that's a lot of what's lacking in the world, and from what I've seen, a lot of what causes loneliness and depression is like this feeling of a lack of community. And there's something that one of the reasons I stopped traveling non-stop and like settled in LA is like I met an amazing community of friends in Venice, and it's like I was like, wow, this is everything. Like having good people around you, like even if it's one or two really good friends, like I think it can be life-changing.
I love that. It was kind of almost like you were searching and then you found it.
Yeah.
But I think people also, like, if you're a lighthouse and light attracts light, like the right people will find you no matter where you are.
If you could share a bit about like mentorship and like the importance of having mentors in life, because I think that's something we don't really learn a lot about as kids.
Well, being a mentor is everything. Actually, there's research, and that is like how girls and adolescents find their self-esteem is being seen by someone outside of the home. So that's a mentor. That's a coach, that's a teacher, that's someone that shows up for you, that's someone that like cares about you for years on end and checks in on you. So that if you're getting your self-worth from someone else seeing you because you haven't fully developed into like honing in on all of your, you know, your strengths and your powers, you need someone to see that in you and give you that compliment, pat you on the back and show up and, you know, watch you play baseball or whatever it is that you might need. You need that. And it's different. It's a different relationship from a parent because it's a little more relaxed. It's like a little more sometimes open. Like I remember my Kate, like probably 4 years ago at school, I'm gonna probably cry, but like it was so sweet. Like remember that time we were like laying on the turf and we were like looking at the sky? Yeah. And my Kate said like, do you believe in God?
Oh, I remember that. It was after school.
Yeah, and it was just like those moments that like parents don't get all the time because you're like driving around and you're like, let's get to soccer, or here's a snack, or here's dinner, I don't have time for that. And like we could just be there. She had that, you know, the trust in me to ask a question like that where maybe our answers are different. They probably were, you know?
Teddy, like I've been like talking to her I've talked to her about like my problems. I've FaceTimed her like so much because sometimes I just need someone to talk to that's other than like my parents or my friends.
Yeah.
Because
maybe a different perspective.
Yeah, because like they're always there for me, like of course, but it's just like I kind of just need a different person.
What do you think the most important thing is for girls in 2021, like compared to like, I don't know, the times where we were growing up even, like what do you think is like the most critical thing that you're trying to like help and solve?
In 2021, I think if tween and teen girls can like learn to just be kinder to themselves and like not use limiting beliefs and talk positively to themselves and like look in the mirror and be like, girl, you got this. Today might be hard, but tomorrow's another day. Even the next hour is another hour, like, you know, and just kind of learn how to be your own champion. I think it's super important. And like, yeah, these girls are lucky they have in-person mentors like me, but I think learning how to advocate for yourself and champion yourself is one of the biggest tools you could ever learn. Or like what you said, like if you know you could be triggered by some comments, protect yourself. Form those boundaries. Like really like tune into who you are this year. I think COVID gave us a lot of space to do that. And if you had programs or parents or mentors or anything that like kind of like gave you something to think about during COVID besides the pandemic, there was a lot of space to grow. And I know I did. And I think that coming out of this, we're all going to be better and kinder, and I mean, we can do anything, you know, and together it is definitely helpful when like people like you guys like use your platform for good, and you share these stories and you share what nonprofits like us are doing. It makes a big difference.
When you're kind to somebody, it's so rewarding to see somebody else, like to see the fact that you can really lift somebody else up, and you can make somebody else so happy, you know.
Making sure girls feel seen, valued, and heard, and have a sense of self-worth is everything to me. And that, like, there's a spectrum of what all these people look like, you know, and what they sound like, and what they're doing, and what they want out of the world. But at the end of the day, they're just people, and they, you know, they want to make an impact.
You also, it's like you're always told not to bully other people.
Did you see he just dropped his bracelet? That's like typical bracelet.
I tied it on like 3 knots. I was like, cool, stretch on, boom.
Just broke his. What were you saying?
Sorry, I interrupted.
It's okay. Like, you always like don't want to bully other people. You're always told that, but at the end of the day, you're always like, you're bullying yourself if you say like those hard things. Like, you don't want to bully yourself. Like, if people are saying don't bully others, then why should you bully yourself?
Yeah, you're like nicer to other people than you are yourself. What is up with that? That has to change. It starts now. You know, you don't have to wait. You don't have to go like read 49 books. You don't have to go back to school. You don't have to have a mentor. You don't have to do anything but just decide, today I'm going to rewire my brain. Because that's truly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're like literally rewiring your brain into a positive like habitat and a healthy place for you to live in. You know, like, why would you want to sit around and be negative? You're not going to attract the right friends. You're not going to get what you want. Life's a struggle when you live in a negative headspace.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm now out. I mean, it's been years of like, you know, just slowly growing and surrounding myself with good people, and, you know, distancing myself from the people that, you know, sometimes it's just like, it's not necessarily that someone's toxic for you, it's just that the relationship, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, some friends aren't meant to be that close, and it's just because some of them I just felt insecure around, and it's nothing that they were doing, it's just like, that's just the nature of our friendship. And so learning those boundaries, being kinder to myself for sure.
What's that look like?
Being kinder to myself?
Yeah, like
not being as hard on myself. When I make a mistake, it's like I'm the worst person in the whole entire world. And so just being kinder to myself, experience life more, going out in nature, you know what I mean? Just like realizing like the world around me, realizing how precious life is, how short it is, and just like kind of rebalancing myself has just kind of done that.
And even every day, it's like, it's not always going to be like an A+ day.
Oh no, yeah.
You know, and just kind of knowing that like living at like a B average would be a really good place to be.
It's like after
Even though parents tell you get A's, get A's, get A's, and I did, but it was like, what if you didn't have that pressure?
like after anything, like for me it's after like sports or whatever. Like after volleyball for me, if I do like something bad or if I have a bad day, I'm like, oh my god, that was horrible. You could do better next time. It's just, you don't have to give yourself all the self-hate right now. Just try to do better next time instead of like giving like, oh, I'm so bad. Oh, be like, oh, I did a little bit like bad today, but I can do better like next time.
Try better next time.
Well, that's the whole premise of life, is like, life is all a journey where you're like slowly improving how you do things and learning, and it's like you're never going to be like the best at anything overnight. So like, I feel like that's just part of accepting, oh cool, like this is part of the process, like I can do better next time, I can learn.
Yeah, but a conversation like this like shows them that, like, and some adults sharing that like life is a journey. You're not at the end, like you're at the very beginning, and you can have like so many different chapters, you know. Like, I think last year taught a lot of people, like, you can change, you can grow. I remember you wanted to play volleyball, and so like, you were using your extra time during COVID to like practice volleyball to make the team. Like, every day is a choice to show up and like do what you want to do to, you know, get where you're going.
No, yeah, we were just talking about that. He's like, what gets you up in the morning? It gets you excited. I'm like, the fact that every day I'm becoming the best version of myself, and every day I could do something else, you know?
I'd love to hear from you girls. What are some of your big dreams?
Oh, I know hers. I know.
Like a lot of people that know me know this. I want to be the first female general manager for the Dodgers.
Oh, wow.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you want to do?
I want to be an actress, and for me, I really want to like break the stereotype of like sexualizing women in movies and like modeling too, and really try and break that stereotype with like acting in movies I do, because I just think that it's bad, and also in industries like that, women don't really get equal pay or equal stuff like that. And I just think it'd be really good to kind of stand up for myself and stuff like that. Like if someone's like, oh, you're getting paid less than the second lead role because like you're a woman, they don't straight up say that,
Right.
but I know. I just say like, hey, like we're equal.
Well, I love that. And if you both have the voice to do that and then you put action towards it, you're helping all the other girls behind you. You do have to be brave to make change.
Yeah.
You do. You have to find it in yourself to just, whatever it is, be brave in that moment. And it's gonna be awkward. It's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna be alone a lot of the time.
And like the people you lose from doing that, and the people who are left behind you, like you start to realize that those aren't the people you want anyways. So
You got
if
it,
you lose
kiddo.
anyone-
You got it. They get it.
Yeah,
Have
no,
you
I
noticed?
love that.
But I mean, even like when I told my aunt actually that I was starting Girl Powerful like 100 years ago, she said, why would you do that? And she was like, you shouldn't do that. That's a liability to like have other people's kids with you, to like talk, you know, like all the like fear around like being around kids. And she like put her stuff on me.
Wow.
And like she said, yeah, she's like, you shouldn't do that. You should just be a lawyer, and you should be boring, and you should do all these things. And I was like, well, I don't want to. I want to help, and I want to connect, and I'm going to. Have any people like in your past that maybe weren't so kind been like, yo, bro, what's up? And like try to hit you up for a favor, or just saying hi, and you're like, you never said hi to me.
Yeah, I had to block someone because I was like, I mean, I don't have fallouts with many people, but yeah, I had like a situation I won't go into, but it was like someone had just cut out my life, and then they just like started talking to me as if nothing had happened. And I was like, hey, look, I've forgiven you, but it doesn't mean I want you back in my life. So I'm just like, I'm done with like, I don't want to like pretend we're friends again, like, so. But that's kind of rare. Yeah, it's kind of rare. I think I'm friends with most people.
I guess for me, I'm from a place, Ottawa, Canada. Not many YouTubers there, and I've always made videos like in high school and stuff. I was friends with everyone, and I was like, I did well academically, and I was like valedictorian, president, and so I was going into university, but I was not passionate. I went to business. I was there for a semester, and I was telling Louie, I was like, I kind of had this realization. I was like, oh, all these YouTubers I watch and like love, like they all started from zero. So if I just commit, I was like, I believe that I am worthy of like being in that world. I told my parents, I'm like, hey, I want to drop out, and they were definitely like, no, because I was out of all my siblings, the one that was gonna go follow my dad's footsteps, and like.
A lot of pressure.
Yes, so, and I was like, I just genuinely believe that, and if you give me a semester off, just one semester off, I could make this a full-time thing. And it's a mixture of luck and stuff, but I did it. And so, my dad was definitely like hesitant. And I think even when I was making money off of it, he has been hesitant, but I think he's come around to it for sure.
Did it take a while for him to like support?
Yeah, I mean, like me and my dad, like for a while we didn't talk as much, but I think definitely as recent, because it's now like I am successful. So it's like
You are successful.
Say that again.
Yeah, say it less with
I
less
am
hesitancy.
successful.
There we go.
And so I think he's definitely I think now proud of me. So I think definitely there was a hesitancy at first, but. So I get that. That's why I'm like, none of my, also like all of my high school, my brother, like every time I posted a video, like I had no subscribers, he would come outside my room and like quote the videos and make fun of me and stuff. Like he didn't believe it, and now I pay him. So, you know, like it's just like the little things. So yeah, I totally get that, like people not believing you, and that's why I'm so happy that you guys have that mindset, because I try to push that mindset onto, you know, my friends who like they I don't want to say that don't dream. How do I word this? They
limit themselves.
Limit themselves, yes. They limit themselves, and I'm almost like, but life's so, like, you know what I mean? Like you can always, you can do anything you want. Like, you know what I mean? Just do what you want, what you're passionate about, and if you fully believe and you actually commit, I think you can make anything possible. I really do believe that, and that's always been my mindset.
Yeah,
So.
Consistency,
Yes.
showing up. You don't have to be the prettiest, the most talented, the smartest, the richest, the bravest. Like, you just have to show up.
Also, sometimes people don't try to follow their dreams because they're afraid of failing, but life is like, you're gonna fail in things in life, and that's part of it. It's like, even if
Squirrel.
even if you fail at something, like that's just a learning process. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, I feel like if you look at a lot of the biggest, most successful kind of people in the world, like the amount of like what you would deem as like a complete failure has happened in their life, but it's how you respond to that. Did everyone finish their bracelets?
Yeah, I can't tie mine. So.
Oh, come here.
My one.
I feel like a bead on top of
Alright.
it.
Yeah. Persevere.
You want us to read confident to you, or
I would have wrote perseverance, but I felt like it's too long.
I'd love to maybe just wrap up. I'd love to hear, we all talked about our dreams. I'd love to hear what your dreams are for the organization.
Yeah, I think my dream for Girl Powerful is to keep growing, right? We're always changing. Like, it literally started like with a couple girls, 3 girls in a classroom after school. And now I have almost 3,000 girls across the country and one in Germany. But like, yeah, just keep growing, make it a household name, like not to like compete with Girl Scouts, but it's like make Girl Powerful, that kind of thing. You know, something that everyone's aware of. If you need it, we're here for you. And just keep learning. I'm always learning. Like, I just became a realtor. I moved to another state. Like, I am modeling like what I challenge the girls to do. And I think that's the best thing my sister and I can do, is show up as our best selves, to just model genuine people, you know, and not like totally try to be perfectionists and hurt myself along the way. I wish like everyone was happy and healthy. Like, 362 days out of the year. Yeah. Maybe you get 3 days off and you could be funky 3 days, but you know what I mean? Just like live it. Like, go breathe in the fresh air, go feel this wind on our like skin, like just be present. And I love like that kind of stuff, like gratitude and like all the senses, and lean into that more. And so we talk about that. We give them the tools. We give the girls the tools to live their best life. You can take what you want. Like, we're going to show you all the good things from so many different modalities, and some will stick and some won't. But you can design your own like recipe for your life. But I hope the end result after you bake it is some version of happiness and balance. Yeah.
So good.
Thank you.
And for people listening and watching that want to get involved, either they're like in the age group that you support and want to be involved, or maybe they just want to like support what you're doing, how can they do that? And where can they find you?
Sure, everyone can find us at girlpowerful.org, and we actually have the Girl Powerful podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we have TikTok, obviously Girl Powerful Project on social media. But also, yeah, we sell our journals and our affirmation card decks on our shop, and then we're a 501c3, so if you want to make a donation and sponsor a girl, we do quarterly self-care summits, and everyone has access to it because it's via Zoom. So if you want to sponsor a girl to come to that, find us at girlpowerful.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm going to get some of these affirmation cards. I think everyone needs those in their life.
We actually, to combat COVID, made a movement deck. because everyone's so sedentary.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but then every action, it's like a workout. Like, so you
nice.
pick 5 cards and then you do a circuit. So you do it 3 times in a row. And you're probably gonna end up sweaty because they're like real workout moves.
Okay, do 8 jump squats, 5 burpees. Oh, I like it. This is cool.
Yep. So we just like to create.
Girl powerful.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much for like having us and letting us make little bracelets and stuff and showing us what you're doing. And
Should we take
thanks
a
girls for
picture
showing.
with
Yeah,
the
let's do it.
affirmations?
So what were your thoughts of Girl Powerful?
I loved it. I loved the whole concept. I think those girls were so wise.
Yeah.
And I imagine it is from, I'm sure they're very smart girls, but they're just like, I'm just so surprised at 12 that they're so emotionally mature in like the things that they were saying, or the things that like are things that I just came to realizations with, you know?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people my age are still struggle to understand that concept. So I just think it's such a great organization. And I love the cards. I love that journal, the self-reflection journal. I just think it's all so good. And it's setting up these girls for just the best versions of themselves throughout like their years to come, you know? It's just setting a great base for them, and I love that.
Yeah, I love how it's like just allowing them to believe in themselves and dream big, and I just think that we need to have more of that in general education for young people, whether it's like she was saying, like the meditation or just like seeing your self-worth and affirming yourself, and all of those things, like such powerful tools. And I think it would save people so much kind of like trauma and like drama in their lives if they just understood some of those principles early on. Like you said, you're still learning some of the things the girls know now. Same here. I'm like, you know, even older and still like learning basic things that I wish I'd learned when I was a kid. But it's cool. It's cool that there are people providing that kind of support, and it gives me a lot of hope. I think it's like I was saying. Like I feel like it's stuff like that that's really shifting the needle, shifting like the culture. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have any? Have any big dreams for your? Not even necessarily YouTube, but like just your life and other stuff that you
it's just like in general?
Yeah, in general. Like I loved it when we were just going around sharing like what our dreams were, and like hearing the girls like wanting to do big things, being, you know.
I mean
Or do you think you've kind of almost reached your dream? Do you think it's more simple, going back to what you're saying, it's just a bit, you know, being present and happy and like...
Definitely that for right now. I definitely think I remember like in high school, my dream was to be president of the school and be valedictorian, you know, that was my goal. And then I achieved it and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do next, you know? And then I said, okay, the next goal is to be a full-time YouTuber. And then I got there. And now I think I'm at like the next point in my life where I'm like, I just want to try out everything. You know, I want to just be creatively fulfilled. I definitely want to direct something eventually, write and direct a film. Trying to do like baby steps is write and direct my first short film. So like that's the dream. I want to push myself creatively because that's like I'm very comfortable with YouTube. But it'd just be an interesting project. So like that's like one of my goals, and also just, you know, being the best version of myself every day, for sure.
No, I definitely think there's a massive lack of like female directors, and I watched this, I forgot to mention to them actually, but I watched this amazing documentary called Misrepresentation. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, so good. So there's a website where you can like watch it, but it's
there's this thing called the Representation Project, and they've made misrepresentation. There's another one about toxic masculinity, and it's aimed at like supporting how we support men and boys better to show up better for women. But the misrepresentation is primarily about the media industry, the film industry, and how like a lot of these narratives that are perpetuated about, you know, what the young girl was saying about like how women are seen in movies and stuff. It's all, you know, sexualizing women, like there's, you know, not having an equal pay. And the big problem with that is a lot of the directors of old white guys that are just like perpetuating the same narrative, and it's not until you get until you get proper representation making the actual movies is where you'll see a shift in the narrative, in the story and stuff. So no, that's exciting that I'm 100% certain you're going to do it and you're going to make amazing stuff.
Thank you. I'm definitely I feel like it's like one of those things where I'm like I need to push myself to do it.
Yeah.
Just like it's a little bit of fear of the unknown. It's like a world I'm not very entirely comfortable with. But.
So do you want to like write stuff as well? Like is it writing and directing, or?
Yeah, I think I'm very, because I think I would know how to direct something that I've written.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see like in a few years' time what you're making. That's just so epic. Oh, that's so cool.
Excited.
When we were with them, you were touching a little bit on like your maybe not feeling immediate acceptance from your family and stuff, which I think a lot of people go through, whether it's like becoming a YouTuber or just following your own path.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for people that are watching or listening that have like struggled feeling supported by their parents or family with their life choices?
Well, in terms of like career passions and stuff, okay.
Yeah, maybe career path, or maybe it's like just maybe it's just a big life choice that, like leaving college or moving somewhere or whatever it is. So I feel like we all kind of look for the approval of our parents in some way.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's just believing in yourself and believing in your choices, right? I think I had this very strong gut instinct, and that was on one of the cards from Girl Powerful, where it was like, trust your gut instinct. And I had this strong gut instinct and this intuition. I was like, I think I'm making the right choice here, and I feel like I'm following my path. Yeah. And I think trusting yourself and trusting your instincts, that's my biggest advice, because you can't change. I think it's pointless to try to change the perspective of others around you. Like, you can only just focus on yourself and do what it is you want to do, and hopefully during that journey that those people then come back and, you know what I mean, and support you, and understand where you're headed. I think it's just focusing on yourself at that point.
How's your relationship with your family now? Like, is there certain family members you still kind of, I don't know, this?
Yeah, no. I mean, for a long time, my dad and I had not a good relationship. I hadn't talked to him for, I think, a year and a half, almost 2 years. And that was during this whole YouTube thing. I think there was a video, I think I went a little too far in his eyes. And there was a big build up to that. And I think I just kind of cut him off. But recently, actually, I think a year ago, like during June, like that's when we kind of mended that. And
did you reach out to him?
Yeah, I got him a Father's Day gift. We went golfing. He likes golf. Just like putting the effort in, and You know, I recently did a video where, because my parents are divorced, where I got the whole fam back together and we had a conversation, and it was just really nice.
I think
you
I
know?
saw that, the video, when you were like doing the video calls and stuff.
Yeah.
You were asking like really awkward questions.
Yes.
So good, so good.
Yeah, so definitely like that was probably the only person. I'm definitely really close to my mom and my brother and one of my sisters, Melina. Those are the ones I'm really closest to. Everyone else, it's just, you know, I got a bigger family. I keep in touch every here and there, but I'd say the core family, like, I have a really good relationship with, and you know, I literally just talked to my brother today, trying to figure my mom's Mother's Day gift. But yeah, I love them very much.
And what's it been like, kind of growing up in different countries as like, you know, being like mixed race or whatever, like having different heritage?
For sure.
Have you? I don't know. It just I always love hearing and understanding different people's experiences.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like I barely talk about this. I mean, like, I am so grateful to have moved around a lot as a kid, especially in like different cultures. My dad, like, he's very like he's just like this white guy, but he taught himself Mandarin, and so that's why we like lived in Taiwan and Hong Kong.
Do you know other languages? Do you know like Filipino?
All
or, like...
my siblings and I know only English. It's really bad. I went to Tagalog school. When I was in Hong Kong, I went to Mandarin class, and in Canada, French class. My dad's trilingual, my mom's bilingual. Nothing. I don't know what it was, but I'm trying to.
I'm the same. I'm terrible at languages.
Yeah,
like.
it's just like it's like a weird thing. I'm gonna try to do French, but growing up, I'm super grateful. I'm super grateful it happened when I was a kid, because I feel like it's easier to like move and like make friends, and I'm happy that we settled down middle school and high school in Canada, because I'm very grateful for that whole experience. But you know, growing up mixed race, it's been interesting because I feel like I'm more proud of being Filipino, half Filipino now, and that Filipino side. But while I was in Hong Kong and like Asia, I was very almost ashamed of it. And I know this is something that I feel like a lot of I definitely, people with mixed race or even not mixed race, like, have this experience where I was almost like, I was just very like, I'm Canadian, like I was just making it very people like make sure people knew that I was like not, I don't know, it's just a weird shame to it, and I'm like wanting to eat like more Americanized food instead of like Filipino food, and like, I don't know, kind of going against that side of myself. But I feel like the older I've gotten, and I feel like that is very much a cultural thing. I'm not too, I haven't really deep dived into like the why I felt that way as a kid. But now I'm like really embracing it. Like, I did a whole video where my mom tried to teach me Tagalog, and like teaching me how to make Filipino dishes, you know, and.
Wait, what is that? What did she teach you? The language?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
In the Philippines they speak, what is it?
Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so.
Have you been back to the Philippines or anything?
I think when I lived in like Asia, like Hong Kong, Taiwan, like we visited a lot more. I think I haven't been since I was 12.
Okay.
11, 12 to the Philippines.
Yeah.
But I've visited Hong Kong a couple times since. I just like, I'm not very close with my Filipino family, but I have my cousins live in Hong Kong, so I visit them more often there.
Did you see like a big difference or of how your mum was treated being Filipino when you were growing up, or was it kind of, did you not see, because I know there's this whole thing happening right now from, you know, I mean, it's been stoked from a bunch of different things, but like this whole kind of Stop Asian Hate, a lot of kind of violent attacks against, you know, Asian people, and especially in America.
Yeah.
Was there any racism you experienced or saw your mum being, you know, subjected to growing up, or was it pretty chill where you were?
It's all very subtle, as it usually normally is. It's very much like in Hong Kong, I felt like I do feel like in Hong Kong Filipinos are a little looked down upon, because helpers. They call them helpers there. I even had one. Every family there has a helper, which is like a nanny, and all of them are Filipino.
Yeah.
And so my mom is Filipino, and so I felt like there are times like when we're, driving and the cop will pull her over, and I felt like my dad did the exact same thing, and he would not have gotten treated in the same way. Or things like my mom now works in Canada, and she's had like bosses where they've kind of, her English is her second language, she's self-taught, and they kind of give her shit for her grammar and stuff. They're like, please review your emails before sending. It's like and so now I know how that's affected her, because she always sends me her emails to proofread and fix her grammar. She's very self-conscious about it, and so it's just like subtle things like that where it's like, I don't know, just I know it's been hard for her, and I know she's like very conscious of it, and so that's definitely been tough to see growing up. But.
Yeah, it must have been really unique, kind of having kind of two vantage points growing up.
Yeah.
But I guess you're only aware of your own experience, like you're not necessarily thinking about it a lot. It's just like, oh yeah, this is just normal kind of. But I feel like now more than ever, like there's a big spotlight on kind of the whole racial equity, the whole conversation around like how do we build a world where we're not perpetuating the kind of systemic racism, whether it's against black people, Asian people, or whatever. Like I feel like this is a very monumental time, and I know it's like it's been centuries and decades of journeying through it, but I kind of do, in the same way that we're talking about like hopefully there's a turning point for equality for women and like a shift in the culture. Like I do hope a lot of this kind of bigoted racism and prejudice like starts to be dismantled. But I don't know, do you ever, with all of this stuff that's happened like last year with Black Lives Matter and stuff, or a lot of these issues, do you feel it's encouraging to see stuff happening, or do you feel overwhelmed or discouraged by the world we live in sometimes?
Definitely overwhelming. I felt like at the beginning actually, like, because I decided to like cut social media completely, like cold turkey, in April of last year.
Okay.
And so when everything started happening, and so I was really behind. And I did not understand what was happening, because I really like.
Oh, so you don't even like watch the news and stuff as well?
I at the time, no, you know what I mean. I was really isolating myself, just like focusing on myself, and I didn't know anything was happening. And then my friends started talking to me, and like they started sending me articles, and I started, I had to educate myself and like catch up, and it is. I know for my friends at the time, like I felt like it was very overwhelming and stressful for them. Like they just being online, seeing it, like just scrolling, and it's just pure, just like
it's relentless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I definitely felt like that. Like I don't feel like I felt it as intensely as them, because I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't scrolling through it, but it definitely was overwhelming, because it's like, you're just trying so hard to figure out, like, what can I do? Well, you know what I mean? How can I help? And it's just like, it just seems to be like this one thing after the other and after the other, and yeah, I don't know. It's
do you like see yourself as an activist with issues like that? I know you were saying earlier, like, it felt like you were kind of thrown into being an advocate for the LGBTQ community, and that was like too early for you.
Yeah.
Is that changed, or do you still, I don't know, do you still struggle with kind of like being, I don't know, a spokesperson for stuff like that? Do you know what I mean?
I definitely struggle with it. I think I have a fear that I'm going to say something wrong. I have a fear that I'm not qualified. I have a fear that, it's just so, it's so outside my comfort zone. But the thing is like I feel like maybe a couple years ago I really like I was just so, it made me so anxious. But I feel like as the more I grow up and the more I, am coming into myself, I feel more comfortable and I feel more passionate about using my platform for good. I feel like, and that's coming with, I think, with age. I think that's and just understanding the power I have and the influence I have, and I feel like that's something that I really was hard for me to grasp, that like this platform I have and these followers I have, as much as like I didn't ask for that, I didn't ask to be in that position, I am, and I feel like there is a responsibility that comes with that, and I think it's taken me a bit to fully understand that responsibility, and to own that responsibility, and so I'm getting there, but definitely it gives me anxiety, I will say. Just because it's just like the one wrong, it's just with this culture, it's so the one wrong thing. It's just
Wasn't it so interesting how the girls brought that up as well about cancel culture? That blew me away. I was like, wow, it's not just from our perspective, it's from their perspective as well. Like feeling that it's impacting them negatively.
I can only imagine, because it's like happening within influencer culture and like what they watch, like TikTok and YouTubers and like even like celebrities, and so that mentality would be transferred over into like middle school drama. It is just like I wanted to mention that. I was just like, that's crazy. I haven't even, because I'm so out of school, I hadn't thought about how what's happening right now would be affecting the kids, and like how would it affect me if I was 12, It's crazy.
It's so crazy. And where do you, I think this is something that all kind of YouTubers struggle with, but like where have you learned boundaries in terms of like what you want to keep private, what you're happy sharing, the challenges with all of that? Because I know you were saying like, you kind of jumped into being spontaneous and like making a whole video and coming out, and then maybe you're like, maybe that's too early. And do you think it's a constant learning process? Do you feel like you've found a healthy balance now?
I think I definitely have found a healthy balance now. I think I've learned my boundaries. I think I've learned that I think I've shared what I've needed to share in terms of vulnerability. As of right now, I don't know what could happen in the future, but as of right now, I'm now focused on, that's why I'm doing Kids Super Fangirls. It's very like lighthearted, and there are times where we can get like, we talk about personal issues and stuff, but it's I'm kind of just trying to step away from that for a bit, just because I do think being so vulnerable online is good. It definitely is. I just know how personally, like when growing up watching YouTubers come out like that, like I don't think if I hadn't seen that growing up, like I don't think I would have been as comfortable to come out like the way I did. And so I understand how important it is for people to be vulnerable online and to be honest and start conversations, but I think it definitely affected my mental health a lot, and so I think I've just learned that it affected my mental health a lot, because being so honest online gives people the opportunity to put their opinions on, give their opinions, and have a perception of you that maybe isn't I don't know, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's putting it out so publicly. It's a tricky thing, and so I think I feel like I was doing a couple like last year I was doing videos on my second channel where I was still kind of being honest and sharing my thoughts and stuff, but maybe not being so specific, and just like really thinking about my words and like just really taking the time instead of being like super impulsive and just being like, I want to be brutally honest, like just taking the time to think. I'm like, okay, think about the consequences of putting this out, thinking about, do I want people to also thinking about like the people in my life, because sometimes I think I forget about that, like that it's not just like strangers that are watching this, it's friends of friends, my mom's coworkers, you know, like it's like if I ever met them, would I want them to know these things about me? Just like putting it in perspective, I guess. So yeah, I think I've definitely learned my boundaries as of right now. So, but we'll see in the future. I probably will share some more about myself. But yeah.
No, it's good. I feel that's the whole part of that healing journey as well, as like just looking after yourself and your mental health and trying to like calm the anxiety and all of that. I think it's good to feel like you have control and you don't have any pressure to have to overshare or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the weird thing about social media as well, is like we're our own bosses, but it can be so stressful even though we're the only ones often putting that expectation on ourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe we feel a bit of that from the audience, but it's not like it's not like we have to do anything. It's like, you know, we've just set like a goal or we've just set some kind of expectation, and I feel like that's part then we can almost like work ourselves into that stressful state because we're like, oh, like I'm not doing what I wanted to do, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Oh. Yeah, I think for me, like this kind of like last year and like this kind of the whole pandemic has obviously it's been terrible for a lot of people, and I think it's going to take years for people to kind of recover financially and find their way back. But I think even people that have lost a lot, like there's something that has awoken in people. Like I feel like people aren't just accepting the systems and the way things have been, and from what I've experienced, a lot more people are just asking questions and asking, you know, like, oh, why do we do things like this, or why is this the way things happen? Like maybe this is a good time to rethink how we build a society and how we do life.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any, like, what do you think are the main, I mean, this is a really potentially complex question, but for you, what do you think the main flaws and problems are with the society that we live in? And like, how do you think we could reimagine them, like how we could operate?
Oh boy.
It might be a tough one, like to put you on the spot, but like, do you ever think about stuff and be like, oh, I wish this was different, you know?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we talked about today, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know what? My roommate, he always, like, when he goes out and about it, he's like, oh, thanks, brother, you know what I mean? He's like, if you treat everyone like family, you know what I mean? Like, if everyone just treated each other like family, like, how much better of a place it would be, you know? And I think we're headed towards kindness, you know? And I know this is so general, but I just think at the root of all, like, the flaws I see, like, it's just, like, it could be solved with love and kindness, you know what I mean? Just, like, approaching it with a good, positive energy, and if everyone just, you know, really focused on that, I think we would be headed in a great direction. But
yeah, I mean, and it sounds almost like idealistic. You're like, oh yeah, it's like, but it's so true, because I think the things that people do get caught up in is obviously like, and what Teddy was sharing earlier about like selfishness. Like, if you really, there's one thing of putting yourself first in terms of kind of your mental health and putting boundaries, but I feel like when you're only thinking of yourself with every area of life, where you're like, you know, I just want to build my own personal wealth, or, you know, I'm happy to trample over other people to achieve my goals, like all of that stuff. It's like that is often what we're taught.
Yeah.
In terms of like, you need to be ruthless to really succeed. And I feel like the reality is we can achieve so much more together and being a team and being a family. And I think often the word family, like people just think about their close, like their partner and maybe their kids, but like the reality is like, yeah, we are all in this together. Like we are in this crazy world trying to, you know, everyone's, that we share so much in common in terms of what our core needs and desires are. And I feel like you're so right with that. Like if we just, I don't know, we just realise we're not this isolated being, but we are all very interconnected with not only other people, but something I've really been on a journey with is understanding like my interconnection to the animal kingdom and the planet.
Yes.
And I feel like when we do that as well, we'll take care of and honour the planet and nature in ways that currently humanity aren't really. And like I feel like that's a big challenge when you dive into it. It's like, oh man, like how do we, there's like people issues in terms of how we treat each other, but then there's like the bigger issue of like, are we destroying our home and our planet, and how do we stop that as well? It's like, and I feel like it's all very interconnected.
Yes, for sure.
Whether it's like justice issues, whether it's like like racial and gender equity, or whether it's like environmental problems that are happening and communities that are being affected. But I don't know, I think like you said, it can be all very overwhelming, but I like that challenge as well of like, okay, it's all a bit overwhelming, but let's just pick like a couple of issues that are, you know, that are closer to my heart, like the things that I really like get me excited to want to make a difference in. What do you think some of the other solutions are? And again, I know we've talked a lot about solutions and different things, but like when she was sharing how like 50% of young teenagers are now kind of depressed and stuff, and how social media is playing a big part in that, do you have any thoughts? Have you watched The Social Dilemma?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really truly believe what has helped me personally has been removing myself from social media. And I understand that people need to, you know, it's some people's jobs, like it's a way of connecting with others, but like perhaps, you know, limiting the amount of people you see on social media, because something I've done is kind of, I've muted a lot of people and focused on like people I actually have real relationships with, you know, like the friends that I talk to on a day-to-day basis, my family, you know, because it's like kind of like what Facebook was, you know. I feel like with Facebook, like I don't know now, I don't really use it, but like I don't feel like you hear a lot of people having bad mental health days because of Facebook as much. It's mostly Instagram, Twitter, like, you know, so on. But I think it's because it's very focused on relationships, like your actual friends, your relationships with people you actually have. So I think just limiting like that, because I feel like comparing yourself is a huge thing. I think that's, you know, seeing people,
or like you said, muting people. Like,
yes, you don't have to unfollow.
You might still want to be friends with them, but you might be like, actually the stuff they post doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, and you can even mute someone's stories and not their posts, or you can mute their posts and not their stories, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, I think there are solutions like in terms of that, like just like limiting the amount of lives you are seeing, because I feel like the more like people you follow, like it's just the more comparisons you're putting in your head, more opinions, especially on Twitter, like, you know, limiting that down, because it's just like hearing so many people's opinions can like really get into your head and feel very overwhelming, you know. And I think limiting the amount of time, I just think, I don't know, like obviously I'm not trying to put all the blame on social media, but you know, I definitely think I have my phone from all apps. I can't go on all apps, only from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Nice.
And then so, because I usually wake up pretty early, 7:38.
So you don't look at your phone for the beginning of the day?
No, yeah, the beginning of the day thing has been a new thing, because I noticed that I'm like, oh, I wake up and I have all these emails and texts I need to respond to.
Yeah,
and
it's super
like
stressful. You
yeah.
start your day like anxiety,
Exactly. And so it's like pausing, having like an hour to work out, eat breakfast, you know, and then get your day started. And then also like I cut off at 9 p.m. just because I'm like, I don't need everything I've seen I need to see. I don't want to like drag it out any longer. So that also, I think your phone has like, Apple's been like putting like good tools on, like you can like my Instagram. Yeah, like Instagram, like I have a time limit on it. I have 45 minutes a day.
Okay, I've got a question for you. What's one question that you're trying to find an answer to in your life right now?
Do you have one? Maybe? What's yours?
I think mine's probably around work-life balance. Like how do I find satisfaction in pursuing my kind of dreams for projects and stuff like that, but also be present and not be burning out, and balancing like spending quality time with Raya, and like potentially next year like we could maybe start a family, like start trying for kids. So it's almost like I'm a little bit terrified of from seeing my friends with kids, is how do you do anything when you have kids? Like it feels very all consuming, and I'm excited for that, but I'm like, how do you have time to do anything else? Anyway, that's kind of an ongoing question that I don't think it's going to be answered immediately, but it's something that kind of is in my mind.
Yeah, okay. Damn. Excited for you to have kids though. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I guess for me, mine's with my love life, I guess. My questions are, it's more, I think that's the world. I feel like I've got I'm very self-aware and I understand everything, like the other sectors in my life. But when it comes to that, what the question I guess is, why can't I accept love, I guess, in the sense of I tend to like people and have feelings for people who can't love me back.
They're like unavailable.
Yeah, but the people who are able to, I close off to them, you know. So I guess that's my question. I definitely do know the answer, but it's just like it feels very deep rooted, you know, and it seems like something I need to like unpack, and it's like just something that I've kind of pushed off for a while to like unpack. But I feel like, you know, I'm getting older, so
what do you think the root of it is?
I don't think I deserve it, I guess. I think there's a part of me that feels like I deserve it, and also maybe I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of deep intimacy like that, like true deep love like that. Yeah, I think that's what it is, but seems like a lot to unpack, you know.
Yeah, but it's worth unpacking. I mean, I'm not saying right now, but like it's worth unpacking for yourself, and it might be a long process, but like there's something so beautiful about finding a person to share life with that you can truly love and feel safe with. And like, it took me a while. I had some really traumatic relationships in my 20s, and for a long time I was like, I don't want to allow myself to be hurt like that again, so I really closed off. And it wasn't until me and Raya had been dating, and it took a while for me to even agree to be like ready to date, but once we were kind of together for like, I don't know, maybe even took like a year for me to really feel like I could, like she really helped me melt that kind of block I had.
Yeah.
And it seems slightly different, but I just, I couldn't like recommend more that you prioritize like working through that, because I do feel like it will enhance your life so much. And it's not like somebody else is going to solve your problems, or having a girlfriend or a partner and stuff's going to be like the solution or make you a whole person, but I feel like if you find the right person, it can enhance your life so much, you know?
Oh yeah, I know. I know that when it happens, that I'm gonna feel that. I definitely think right now I've been focused on, because I feel like if at right this moment in my life, I would maybe be a little codependent on that person. And so just been working on myself, and I know I just know I have toxic traits to work out, you know, that I know I will, and in time I will figure that out. And the thing is, I see love around me, and I definitely want that for myself, but it also seems very intense, and it feels like you said, like the traumatic, like how you had like a really traumatic relationship and like you felt very closed off to it. I feel like I'm afraid of that. Like that seems to open myself up to someone like that and be that vulnerable is like, for it to end badly, or you know, it just seems like something that I'm really afraid of, but that's basically what I have to work on. But.
Yeah, and it's not like an easy fix, but I think it's like I was saying earlier, like fear, like you might fail. You might go into a relationship and it might fail, but and it might hurt, but it's like, it's still, there's like a famous saying, it's kind of cheesy, but it's like, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's something that opens up, and there's lessons that you can learn about yourself as well and everything when you allow yourself to become vulnerable. But yeah, maybe it will just take a while, or maybe you just need to figure things out. But it's cool that you're at least aware of what you need, the journey you need to go on, and then maybe just, you know, just when you know you're ready to go along that path, like you can.
Yeah.
But I know like we're like newish friends, or we haven't hung out tons, but I just want you to know, I don't know if it means much coming from me, but you are like absolutely worthy of love.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. That's very sweet. Yeah, I mean, it's like something I know. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but like, I need to make myself believe it, I guess. Yeah. I know I'm worthy of love. I feel like, definitely just something I need to work on. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful. I'm a pretty self-aware person, I think, so.
And it sounds like, especially over the last year or so, you've really been on a kind of a self-awareness journey of like really healing.
Mm-hmm, yes.
So it feels like maybe some of that story you've been telling yourself for years it's a time for that story to change.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, for sure. And I feel like I'm on the right path to that, you know? It's like I see where I'm headed, and I know I'm gonna have that for myself, so it's all very exciting. I'm very excited for life. That's how I feel currently, which I'm very happy, because I not always could say that I was very excited about life, you know.
Oh, I'm glad you're excited about life. I think a lot of people want that. I think a lot of people are looking to find excitement in life, and I think like you said, life's short,
And yeah, I feel like we should all be looking for the things that like make us excited to live and do the things we do, you know.
Yes.
Is there, as we're coming to an end, is there like a final thought or message that you want to like leave people with?
I guess generally from everything what we've talked about, just like remembering the importance of, just what we just said, loving and living life, you know? And I feel like especially during this past year, you know, I feel like it's made people maybe appreciate life more, or want to appreciate life more, and like go out and do things, and people are like charged up and ready to go. And I hope that, you know, as things slowly start to go back to normal, that people keep that energy and that motivation that they have pent up inside of them, and go full force for what they want, and keep that energy up, keep that good energy, keep good vibes, and just like live life to the fullest. Because, you know, things like this, like no one expected this, and like life's like that, you know, you never know what's gonna come and what's gonna happen. So just live day by day like it's your last, you know.
Awesome. Wow. Thanks for being on the podcast, and I'll link your podcast below.
Yes, thank
and
you.
You can go and check out all Elle's stuff. And yeah, it's been a really cool day, really cool conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Appreciate it. Wow, what a great day.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow Elle and Girl Powerful and subscribe to this podcast for future episodes. Please leave a comment suggesting future guests that you'd like to see on the show.